How is everybody doing this evening? Hope everybody is well. It's been a challenging Monday for me, I'll admit it, but I'm glad to be here with Erin Kavanagh, here to talk about short-term rentals this evening. How you doing, Mr.
Hello, everybody.
Kavanagh? Hi.
Hello.
Kim, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Did you ever buy something?
No.
Not yet. Okay. I
She
did talk
will.
to you about those down at the Northern Neck, though, right?
This is not the Kim that you're this is another Kim.
Different Kim. Okay. Sorry.
Yes. We're popular. We're popular
You
by
are very
name.
popular for sure,
Yes.
especially if you're here.
Yes.
Um, yeah, look, I'm a fan of let's get started,
Let's
right?
get it rolling. Come
Yeah,
on.
let's get it rolling. So people will definitely be able to hear the recording and the replay as needed. So I am Cheree of Simply Funded. Uh, and most Mondays, I'm here at 6 p.m., bringing a guest who can help you with regards to building your real estate portfolio and your real estate empire. And this gentleman that I have here, Mr. Erin Kavanagh, is not only a very, very accomplished realtor, but he also is a master at short-term rentals and maximizing your profits and your revenues with short-term rentals. So I invited him here today. Welcome, Erin.
Hey, thanks. Thanks, Cherie. Yeah, so just a real quick rundown of who I am. I've been a real estate agent for 22 years. Born and raised in upstate New York, but moved to the Leesburg, Virginia area. Now I live in Berryville, Virginia, but basically moved to Northern Virginia in 1994. Bounced around a few jobs. I started my career as a real estate agent when my kids were just little. It was probably the best thing I ever did, and also the hardest thing I've ever done, because this is not an easy business by any stretch. But over the first, I'd say, I don't know, 17 years, I did regular real estate, just, helping people buy and sell homes in neighborhoods and, regular first time home buyers, move up buyers, things like that. Um, COVID came along and changed the landscape for sure. Um, basically everybody wanted to get out of Washington, D.C., get out of Dodge when COVID happened. And, long story short, they started purchasing because they have tons of equity, started purchasing these secondary homes and figured that it was a great investment strategy to rent them out on a part-time basis when they weren't there. Now, short-term rentals, Airbnb properties are not, new to the system. They've been around since, 2010, 12, whatever. But they're really now just getting started as far as, as part of a system within the housing industry as well as investments. Certainly, got a thorn in the side of all those hotel chains, right? The hotels really don't like them. And so it's really about finding the right spots and things like that that are going to allow short-term rentals to perform.
Yeah, so short-term rentals are interesting to me because if managed properly, they can be quite profitable.
Yes.
But a lot of people say that they want to get into real estate because they're looking for passive income. First of all, is this passive income being a short-term rental?
Yeah,
Is
so
that
it's an interesting question because it depends on your investment strategy, right? I have some people that buy an Airbnb property for the benefits of just doing a cost segregation and reducing their taxes. I have people that buy Airbnbs and just want to break even so that they have a place to go and vacation with their family. I have people that want to turn money really, really a lot, bring in a bunch and, turn the money. That's a good thing. And then lastly, we have people that want to buy something in a place that they might want to retire and just rent it temporarily until they're ready to retire. So, there are several different strategies to that, but long story short, I look for properties that are going to turn as much profit as possible. I help my clients with what they need to put in the home to make sure that you're maximizing the opportunity. And I put them in touch with certain co-hosts and property managers that I know, that know how to work the system behind the scenes, from short-term rental photography to what's the word, SEO, search engine optimization, and the sites that really like properties that are busy.
So let's break those down. So I guess starting with, maybe you started with your strategy, first of all, like what are you looking
Yeah,
to do? Are you
yeah,
looking to just break even? Are you looking to, have something that will help with your taxes? Are you looking to make money from this? So I think that always starting with your strategy is the most important thing. But like, what's step number two? Is it finding a property? Is it like what? Walk us through some of the steps that people should
absolutely.
take.
Yeah, so so we are in a really great opportunity in our area, because the Shenandoah Valley is one of the hottest areas for this particular type of investment in the United States. It's got a regional play to it. I mentioned Washington, D.C. is only an hour and a half, 2 hours away. So a lot of the people that we see come through here are just weekend warriors. So you're going to generate a um, good amount of income just on weekend traffic, right? So, that's the first thing, is knowing the areas. Where do you want to be? How far away from your personal residence do you want to be? And if it's 2 hours away, who are you going to use to kind of help you manage it, right? There are people that do it themselves. They have a local handyman and a local cleaning system and all that. So it's easy to do if you find the right people. At the same time, it's just one of those, if you find the right house, then for me, it's, let's make sure that the numbers work. So I'm going to tell you, here are the great areas where a lot of people are investing right now, right? Because I've been doing this for the last 4 or 5 years, right? So, at the end of the day, I already have helped many, Airbnb investors purchase. So I'm going to help guide you into certain areas. And that sounds bad, but at the same time, if you're looking to maximize your income, regardless of your strategy, there are certain areas out in our area where you want to be, and some that just don't allow short-term rentals at all. So what Airbnb regulations are there in each county? What HOAs avoid, having that short-term rental opportunity? So, things like that. So it's connecting with an agent like myself that knows the market, knows, you know, what a 2 bed, what a 3 bed, what a 4 bed will bring as far as an income, or what it should bring if you do all the right things. And then start from there, depending on what your down payment is. And that's when I refer back to you as to, you know, the lending is the most important piece of this, right? Especially with the interest rates the way that they are, you have to have a really solid lender that knows exactly what they're doing, because a lot of times it can go sideways on you really fast, especially because these are rural properties.
Right. So let's talk about that because I have closed short-term rental in a rural area. So the first thing with regards to the money itself is that not all lenders will loan on a short-term rental. There are specialized lenders out there who will loan on a short-term rental. However, short-term rentals can be, I tell people, in the cities, in the suburbs, or in rural areas. If you are purchasing in the city or the suburbs, you will have more options than if you're purchasing in a rural area. Why? Because lenders are typically risk averse, right? So they're thinking that, like, what's the worst thing that could happen? You could convert it from a short-term rental into a long-term rental. Are there tons of people out there who would want to live in your property as a long-term rental? Well, in rural areas, there's less and less of that. So it doesn't mean it's impossible. We closed one. Erin and I have closed one in a rural area. It does mean that you will have to put more money down. So let's talk about that. If you are purchasing a short-term rental, the lender is going to look at your credit score. They will not care what your debt to income ratio is. They won't care if you have a job. They won't care. They will look at your credit just for your credit score, but they won't care how much you owe Neiman Marcus or what your car note is, right? These are investor loans. They're called DSCR loans. It's an acronym for debt service coverage ratio. But what they will do is they will look at your credit score, and the higher your credit score is, the less money you have to bring to the table. And also, the closer it is to the city, so if it's in the city or the suburbs, the less of a down payment you need as well. In city and suburb areas, you're usually looking at about 20 to 25% down. In rural areas, you're looking at about 30 to 35% down. So just being aware of that. The other thing that the lenders will look at is, and Erin's going to talk about this, I'm sure, AirDNA. AirDNA it has a lot of different features, but one feature it has on it is your estimated revenues for that specific property as a short-term rental. And they basically look at all the other short-term rentals and how much those are making, and they will give an estimate with regards to the daily rate that you would receive on average for the year, and also something called the occupancy rate, meaning out of 365 days per year, what percentage of those days is that property expected to be occupied? Most short-term rental lenders want to see a 50% occupancy. My lenders, I'm sorry?
At minimum.
At minimum, 50%. I do have a lender, I will say, that if all of your other things are in a row, meaning you have a 700 plus credit score, you've got 35% to put down, you've got plenty of what's called reserves, meaning that, you've got 250,000, $500,000 sitting in a bank account that they can see after you have paid your down payment, right? They will, we put in for an exception to that 50% threshold, meaning that they will say, okay, because your credit profile is so great with all of these other aspects, we will not worry about the 50% occupancy. The final thing that I will say is just from an accounting point of view, because I have an accounting background, is that leveraging AirDNA is all about the averages of what people are doing, but you're not here to be average as a short-term rental host, as an Airbnb host. You're here to be extraordinary, and Erin is going to talk about the ways that you're able to do that. So if you're looking at everybody else's average, knowing just a few things that you need to know in order to make yourself a super host and that property a desired property, you should see like greater revenues and greater profits from your short-term rental. So yes. So the final thing I'll say is that, it's usually about a 30-day close. So give us enough time. Don't rush us saying, oh, yeah, we gotta
Sometimes
close.
it takes a little bit longer, especially when you're dealing with some of those tough loans and things like that. But
Yes.
yeah, I mean, there's other ways to go about. So if you don't have one now, right, you can buy with what they call a second home loan, which is 10% down, right?
Yes.
Now, think about what you're doing, right? So if you're looking for an occupancy rate of 50% and your mortgage payment is barely going to cover that monthly mortgage payment, then it's not a really solid investment unless you're going to spend time there with your family. You're going to trade off personal time for income, right? Which a lot of people do. So, I give that out there just, specifically because, for me, that's how I bought my first one or got into the first one. It was a second home, and it needed to be, 60 plus miles away. It needed to be something where I stayed a couple of weeks a year. I'm sorry, a couple of
Yep.
weeks a month, in the
Should be a
property.
couple weeks a year.
Um, yeah. And then, then they don't really give you a hard time about it, but you don't want to commit mortgage fraud. We don't want to do any of that. So what we're talking about is, you know, you can buy something for as little as 10%, but your strategy might be a little bit different if you know what, interest rates. What I always ask Cheree for is what they call a good faith estimate,
Mhm.
which will show you what your down payment is, what your monthly mortgage payment plus insurance and things like that, your PITI, as well as what your closing costs might be. So
Mhm.
all in what you're going to spend up front before you make this purchase, right? I'll usually say, hey, we've identified a property, send it over to Cheree, have her run the good faith estimate so that you know exactly what you're dealing with. All
Right.
right.
And then for the
So
vacation home, just recognize that you must have enough income to support
yes,
the mortgage, the entire mortgage for that second home, because we cannot then include the estimated revenues from
right.
the short-term rental. So,
That's great.
just wanted to make sure people know that. And it is 2 weeks a year. So it's 14 days, really. It's 14 days per year, you having access to that property and you going to stay there. The rest of the time, it can be short-term rental as much as you want. And you cannot sign, like, there are some property management companies that will come to you and say, hey, Kim, I want to actually like sign a lease and then have short-term renters come and like, I have a lease with you for this property. There's a rule that says that you cannot relinquish the property or lease it out to somebody else. You have to maintain control of the property. So,
That's right.
but
That's
yes,
right.
and thanks so much for mentioning the second
Yeah,
vacation home
absolutely.
loan is what it's called. Mhm.
Right. Now, so again, stepping back into, so when I'm analyzing a property, I'm first of all, I'm living in luxury land at this moment because Shenandoah Valley 50% occupancy is relatively easy to hit if you know what you're doing, right? So, a 2-bed, 1-bath property that we have, but the issue is it's only got 1 bathroom, right? Our occupancy went from 50% to almost 95% in the last 2 months with some tweaks that we've made to the Air DNA and or not Air DNA, Airbnb system, VRBO, things like that. That said, knowing that a property, 1,000 square feet, which we purchased for 300,000, can make 7,000 or $7,500 a month, was nowhere in our realm of possibility. I didn't think it was possible, right? So I was gauging all of our numbers based on, let's buy a $300,000 house and let's make 6 grand a month, right? Now 6 grand a month covers basically all of our expenses and leaves about $1,500 in profit. Okay, so our monthly expenses, and now we bought this one with hard money. It was a partner of one of my partners that provided the cash. It's a 10% each month, interest only. It was supposed to be a 1 year thing, but he's allowed us to keep it for a second year until the rates drop, and we'll use Cheree to refinance when the rates get to a little bit more favorable in position. But right now we know what our numbers are. We're running a profit and loss statement every single month. And for the last 2 months, we've averaged 7,300 and 7,500 as far as our income, which is outstanding. I'm blown away. So the first step, find a property that's going to get you 50% occupancy. Okay. So if you buy, and these are numbers that I would write down as a goal. Okay. If I'm going to buy a property at 300,000, I want my 50% occupancy to provide me with at least $3,000 a month in income. Okay. And then I want a property annually to come up to, so if I buy a $300,000, property, I want it to produce at minimum $60,000 a year. Now, Cheree will tell you what the mortgage payment is on a $300,000 loan at 8%. It's $2,500, $2,800, something like that, right? So if you're only making $3,000 a month, there's not much meat on the bone, right? So you really do have to maximize what we call the orphan nights. So weekends are almost a guarantee, right? Everybody's going to come out as long as you have the amenities in your property. The people are going to come because they're going to want to go hiking. They're going to want to go to the river. They're going to go to Skyline Drive. They're going to go visit the amenities that are out in the Shenandoah Valley, wineries, breweries, whatever. Okay. So that the weekend warrior is what you're looking for. Now we also have Route 81, which is a major, U.S. corridor for traveling, right? So areas passing through our Shenandoah Valley on the way down to Florida or wherever they're deciding to go. Okay, so 50% occupancy is a good thing. So I'm looking for properties that are going to perform at minimum 50%. If they don't perform 50%, then there's something wrong. It's either the wrong market, the wrong property, or the just it's too hard to get to, right? Because there are some properties that are absolutely gorgeous, they're perfect for it, but you need a helicopter or or a Jeep with 4x4 to get to.
So if the air DNA doesn't currently say 50%, how can we determine with good management we could get it to 50%?
Awesome question. Yeah. So what I do is what we call the enemy method, which is basically go after the comps, right? What are the other properties in that neighborhood, similar size, similar square footage, similar bedroom bath count, similar amenities? What are they actually producing?
Mm-hmm.
Because Air DNA is going to do an algorithm, right? And they're going to come up, well, this is the area on average of what it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can go to the bottom and you can see the actual competition. And this is how we got the other deal, in my opinion, was going through the list line by line. Here are 5 properties that are producing $75,000, $80,000 on a $500,000 property as a minimum, right? And it's already numbered. So it's actual numbers, not just projections.
Right.
So, now you get into, all right, does your real estate agent know what they're doing? Do they know how to do that? I'm using not only AirDNA, I'm using a system called Meshvisor and Rabu to just kind of compare all the numbers, right? Because each system is going to have a different algorithm. And then I go back and I look at, okay, here's a property that's actually on Airbnb. It's quoting $500 a night. The projection is only saying $350. What is that? Why is that different? And then I go through the photos and I go, okay, this house has a hot tub. This house has a fire pit. This house has all the games that you want to put in there. It's got a hot tub, air hockey, pool table, the drill, right?
Mhm.
Now we're getting into things like painting and accent walls and video game machines like the old Pac-Man games that you see. You remember one back in the day. I even found one where they actually had set up a PlayStation 5, which was pretty cool, on a huge screen TV, and had a bunch of controllers. And we used to use the Wii, right? But now we have those virtual glasses and things like that. So the more amenities you have in there. Now go to a different area. You're going to go to Pigeon Forge or Gatlinburg, Tennessee. Ours, but the property values are significantly higher. They all have indoor pools, saunas, hot tubs as well. They all have massive views of the Smoky Mountains, right? And so it's just, what is it that's this particular neighborhood going to bring, right? If you're looking in, let's just talk about it, Kissimmee, Florida, right? Right outside of Orlando, right near all the resort, Disneyland, Disney World, all that stuff. Those properties have to have a pool. They don't have a hot tub, but they have to have, movie theaters. They have to have the game rooms. They have to have, certain amenities in those, or they're not going to get rented, right? Having a theme. I saw one the other day that I posted on my Facebook page. I don't know if you saw it, but it had a Jurassic Park theme, right? They actually had big freaking dinosaurs in the front yard and the backyard and around the property that actually remote controlled when you walk by. It's pretty cool.
Oh,
So
yes.
it's what you're selling now is an experience, right? So it goes down to this. I can go to the Smoky Mountains and I would prefer to stay in a cabin than go to a hotel,
Mhm.
right? If I go to Orlando, I might stay at the resort itself on Disney, right? But if I have a large family going with me, that's way too expensive. I might rent an Airbnb,
Right.
right? Out here, you can get something for a couple, right? So just a two bed, and you bring your family, two bedrooms. You bring your kids and your wife and or significant other, and you go from there. So really figure out what is it that you want. Start with your price range, your down payment, knowing that right away, and then we can fill in the blanks. I have contractors that can fix things. I can, have people that build houses. I can help buy land. And just know everybody's asking for the same thing. They want water, they want views, they want paved roads, to be honest with you. Now that's not as big as it used to be. What I'm seeing now is a big transition to resort towns. There are two right close to us, technically close to us. One is Massanutten, which is about 2 hours away from me here in Berryville. And
Mhm.
then you have Bryce Mountain, where is the property that's rural that Cheree and I did. Now, both of those are, 12-month properties. They skiing in the winter, golf, swimming, mountain bike paths, zip lines, all the amenities. Now, both of those, you need to buy a resort pass, which is an expense that you didn't necessarily see in the real estate. You can buy the house and you can have it in the area, but if you don't have the resort pass for your guests to use, what are they going to do? They're going to
Interesting.
have to buy a
Okay.
day pass or whatever, right? So
Right.
know before jumping in to all of these things. And like I said, it's Adirondack chairs, fire pits, hot tubs, ice plunge.
Hmm.
I don't know about the ice plunge for myself, but some people like it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I would
Anyway,
say
other
one,
questions?
yeah, I wanted to bring one more thing before we talk about Lance's question is
Sure.
it just I don't know why I forgot about this. This specific lender that I work with that does the short-term rentals, you can use your self-directed IRA to get your down payment as well. So typically self-directed IRAs require something called non-recourse loans. And non-recourse basically means if you, heaven forbid, don't make your mortgage payments, they cannot come after your 401k or your IRA or your personal assets. And most lenders don't do non-recourse loans, but this specific lender that also does the short-term rentals does the non-recourse loans. So another way, now, if you're doing
Got
this,
to
your
have money.
profit
Got
is
to put it
going,
down. Yeah. Got to put your big down payment.
yeah, well, you can do it as your big down payment. Yes. The only thing is you cannot use that cash. That cash has to go back into your retirement account. But imagine having a vacation property that's paid for with your retirement funds. So you can use it as an investment property. And of course, you and your family could stay there as much as you want as well.
Right.
So Lance is asking about our thoughts on the Airbnbs in Ocean City, Maryland. I know about these, closed a couple of
Yeah.
these
So
myself.
I love that because I'm going to start with this goes back to where you want to go, right?
Mhm.
What does your family or you like to do the most, right? So I was talking to a friend of mine and she's like, yeah, we want to buy something, Outer Banks, Myrtle Beach, something, East Coast. And I said, well, that's awesome, right? Um, I'm more of a let's stay on the West Coast or the Western Virginia, right? Route 81. Let's go down the Smokies. Let's go to, Asheville, North Carolina, those areas. Get onto a lake, Smith Mountain Lake, Deep Creek Lake, Lake Anna, things like that. The problem with what I'm seeing is some of these properties values are going way up. Now the beach properties, the values are astronomical,
Mhm.
right? So it really goes back to your strategy. So I will bring up three different types. So there's a regional player. I'm a regional player with this Shenandoah Valley. You can drive there within an hour or two or three or whatever it is, right? Then you have a destination. That's Kissimmee, Florida. You're going to spend a week there, right? There are different destinations that really attract people. Now, Ocean City is a great spot. There's lots to do. It's similar to, you can Jersey all the way down, right? It just depends on what the regulations are. A lot of the properties that are in Ocean City are condos, right? So we call those condotels. All right. And so with condotel, there's a large condo fee that attaches to that property, right? And there's nothing that you can do to avoid it.
Yeah.
Right. So have a property that's on the water. The views are absolutely outrageously awesome, right? But then you have $1,500 condo fee for a 2-bed, 2-bath, and then you might have what they call the special assessments when the buildings need updating, because a lot of those are older. You can't get around it, right? I found a property at Smith Mountain Lake. They had a boat dock provided for each unit, and every unit owner had to pay $7,000 to update the boat docks. Just part of the gig. So just know that there are other expenses. Now, a lot of those properties in Ocean City on those condotels, they also have management companies on site, right? So you can't get away from it. And their management fees are anywhere from 20% to 40%. So think about what if you have cash to put down, then you're probably, buying it with cash, you're in a better position than if you had a mortgage. Because if you're spending for a 2-bed, 2-bath, 500,000, which is what some of those properties go for, you're still going to have a $1,500 a month condo fee plus a $3,000 a month mortgage payment, and then you have a management fee that's you can't get around. So just be cautious as to when you're buying those. Although I know being on the water is one of those things that people love, right? And so you also want to analyze. So for example, I was looking at the Northern Neck. So we're talking about Colonial Beach down through like Montrose and all that, which is 2 hours from Richmond, 2 hours from DC, but it's all on the Chesapeake and Potomac River. It's beautiful. But then you're into, okay, well, how often will I rent this property? Right? It's more of a spring, summer, maybe fall, and then the winter there's nothing. Right? So just looking at the where you like to go and hang out is really the place to start. And then figure out what the fees are if you're buying some of those condotels and things like that. If you can get a single family home, much better opportunity. Of course, you might have an HOA or something like that, but just know that, as far as investments go, you can rent them a lot during the summer and get a lot of money in, but then you're basically broke over the winter.
That was actually the point that I was going to make. So the Ocean City, so I have a client, actually I have two clients that buy in Ocean City. Well, one is owned for years in Ocean City. So she bought when it was super cheap. The other client just bought his second property. So he liked it so much, he bought a second property out there and he's doing well with it as well. They are late spring, summer, early fall. Erin is right. You're not going to make any money January, February. I've seen the financials.
Yeah.
You might get a weekend in December and that's it. So if you are not able to manage your cash properly, Ocean City is not a great deal. I
Right. And I
will
would say the
say,
same about Myrtle Beach and all of those, and there's other things too. So I had a friend of mine who bought a single family residence in the Outer Banks in Corolla, or Corolla, however you say it. And when COVID hit, they closed the bridge and no one was able to get to their vacation property. They had to just basically write off the entire summer. So they bought a house with the intention of getting it rented. They had it filled up and then lost the entire season's revenue due to COVID.
yeah. The other
And
thing
so,
I will
yeah,
say is that there are regular condos and not just condotels in Ocean City. So my clients
that's right.
just have regular condos. The super majority of those condos are not warrantable, which basically means you cannot get conventional loans with um, within those types of properties, you have to go to an alternative lender. So you can come to somebody like me, obviously, because I closed these loans before for clients. But
That's right.
you, uh, I will also tell you that a large frustration you may have is the lack of response with the condo association. And I've seen the reserves. I've seen the big bills get, hit for the reserves for the special assessments and things like that. So what Erin is saying about those condos are true. But uh,
And
I
I'm not saying don't
we're not
invest there.
saying
That's
don't
not
do
it
it.
at
No,
all.
absolutely not.
I'm just
You
saying
just have to know your
know the
strategy.
risks in front
Mhm.
of making that investment. Now,
Yeah.
somebody asked about Arlington and DC. So
Yes.
DC has very specific rules about their Airbnbs.
Mhm.
Arlington does as well. Fairfax County does not. You be very careful on where you buy. If it's in Fairfax County, they only allow you to rent it out short term, 60 days out of the entire year.
Mhm.
Right. So Old Town Alexandria works. Arlington does work. You just have to make sure that, the area that you're buying in, first, there's lots of HOAs, but you want to make sure that the property does allow for short-term rentals in those spots. Now DC is a great spot to go, no question about it. But, once you get into the bigger cities like New York City, they do not allow short-term rentals any longer. The reason why is because the hotel lobbyists said, we're losing money here.
It's
Right.
interesting you
So,
mentioned New York because there's someone in Facebook, Alicia, hello, Alicia, saying that she's trying to rent an Airbnb in her house in New York City. She got approved for a short-term rental by the city on May 16th, but it's next to impossible for her to get that rented. So there's a lot of hoops that you have to go through in
yep.
certain
And,
areas.
a lot of people don't like to share space with others.
Mhm.
Not that it's a bad thing, not that you're a bad person. It just is kind of, it may be a place that they want to go and visit, but I don't know.
Mhm.
Anyway, so
But I
just
have seen
again,
people, so I will say this, Erin, I have seen people house hack with regards to
yeah,
short-term rentals. So
that's right.
you'll have, you and your family living at the top level, and then you'll have a basement entrance and a basement area at the bottom level. And I've seen people do short-term rentals there. I also spoke with one of our grid partners who lives in his house, the main house, and then he has what do you call the second houses? Oh, I'm drawing a blank right
ADU.
now. The ADU, exactly.
Yep.
And we have funding for that as well if people are looking for an ADU uh, construction loan. But he has
Yep.
his garage ADU that's specifically for short-term rentals, and he just so happens to live in a college town near a college. So
Yeah. Yeah.
so things like that, you're able to do that as well and do some house hacking potentially, depending on where you live.
That's right. Now, again, I'm not telling you not to invest in certain areas. I'm just saying be very cautious with your money
Mhm.
because we see it all the time. Like, for example, in Warren County, Front Royal, Virginia, Linden, things like that, there is a 90-day permitting process that we have to go through. You submit an application to the county reviews it, there's a court hearing about it, then it goes to the architectural committee or something like that, and then it goes to the board of supervisors for the final approval. If anybody just comes along and says, I don't want it on my street,
Mhm.
they're gonna, and now you can't submit an application until you actually purchase the home. We've actually had that happen to us. It was a perfect spot. We met all the criteria. The county guys that we talked to every day said, yeah, this should go, no problem. And then a neighbor came and put the kibosh on it for us for everything. Um, so we turned that one into a midterm rental. So knowing what your numbers are, furnished rental, midterm still is not going to produce the income that a short-term rental could, but at the same time it's still covering its mortgage payments, and then you're pulling the equity play, right? I'm going to make my payments on time. I'm going to wait for the market to recover, right? I'm going to build my equity over a long period of time, and then, go from there.
Now, could you, in a year, sweet talk the neighbors and apply again for the short-term rental?
I haven't tried that, but that might be an answer, right? But every
Yeah,
time you submit that application, it's $500. So not an
and you talk to
expensive thing, but
sweet talk the
yeah,
neighbors
not an
first.
expensive thing, but it's still something that you have to take into consideration if, as far as an investment is concerned.
Yeah.
Most people would probably just sell the house and move on
Mm,
if they're
interesting.
only going short term, right? You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yes, yes. So,
Now, what
uh,
I will tell you is, some of these areas of rural that we're talking about, there's not a lot of full-time residences that are going to produce the annual revenue or income that you would need to when they make these purchases. So
right.
the market value of the property is based on the short-term numbers, right?
Hmm.
But the rent that you're going to get on that 300,000 is like 12 or 1,500 bucks. It's just
That's
not
not
going to
enough.
cut the nut,
Hmm.
right? It's not going to do
Yeah.
anything. So you're either going to take that big loss each month, or you have to turn that property in a 1031 exchange.
Yes, yes. So, uh, anything else? Because we don't have any other questions on Facebook or, oh, I take it back. Alicia has responded saying NYC says I'm approved, but on the Airbnb app, it says pending. I spend hours on the phone with Airbnb with no resolution. And she's also saying there is no reaching anyone from the city. I sent three emails with no response. That is so tough, Alicia. I'm so
Yeah, so
sorry that
with
that's
the
happening for you.
Airbnb side, what I would say is every time you pick up the phone and call them, you might get a different responder, a different customer service representative. Just keep pressing them. We see this a lot with it, bad reviews, negative reviews. We see this a lot with insurance claims, people with damage on the property and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Refunds, like a lot of this, just not the reason why you get into Airbnb, but stuff happens, right? Um, there's always that one client out of 100 that's going to be a pain in the neck that you don't want to deal with, and something that went wrong. And so I would say keep calling Airbnb, get a different response, and then take notes, make sure you're following up. This person said this was their ID number, this is um what they told me, and keep hammering Airbnb. They will respond eventually. Now there are other sites. So it's interesting when we started making our tweaks to this. So we updated our photographs, we changed the language. So we're actually managing our properties through Airbnb, through AirDNA, not AirDNA, excuse me, through our what we call our host site. We use Hospitable as our host site, and you're able to go in and tweak the systems to work with our dynamic pricing tool so that we're different nights of the week are different prices. If they book further out, it's going to be more expensive than it is if they book closer in, because we want to start filling up that room or that property as soon as that we know that, hey, there's nothing happening in Monday, so we're going to drop our rates and we're going to get somebody in there on Monday, right? So we're actually into Airbnb, VRBO, booking.com. We're into those sites on a weekly basis, watching what's happening so that we're adding more and more people to the property. Now, some people will say, well, I don't want to have as many cleaning fees, or I don't want to have to do as many turns, right? I said, well, there's ways to figure that out. So we went from collecting $150 a turn for a cleaning fee and then turn that into $150 that we gave back to the cleaning person, which was a mistake, right? So we figured out, well, she's only there, or they're only there, 2.5 hours. So we pay them on an hourly basis. So we collect $150 and pay her out, 75 bucks, right? Or $100. So, how much should a cleaner be paid? If you think about the hourly rate, what I make compared to what the cleaners make, I'm not saying that they don't do a great job. That's not it. I'm just saying, you know, the value of a high level professional versus a cleaner is $40 a lot. Yeah, that's a lot, right? I mean, teachers don't make $40 an hour. So, just think about things like that. We want to make sure that you go into, using good property managers. So I see here from Lance, the great property managers are going to cost anywhere from 15% to 40%, depending on where the property is and how much they actually do. Um, we, I would say there's another option for you. There's things called a co-host, where the co-host is actually managing all the systems for you behind the scenes as far as Airbnb, VRBO, and things like that. They take in all the phone calls and they handle all the options for you. So it's similar to property management, but they call it a co-host, right? Now, I have one that we are working with. She does a great job. And she's learned from another client of mine who owns 40 different Airbnbs, and they're all producing insane godly amounts of money. He's figured out the algorithms and he knows how to tweak the systems. And so, is he worth 20% each month? Absolutely. So if we went from 4,500 on average, breaking even, to $7,500, I'm going to pay him 10%. I'll give him $700 for that, and that's no problem. I'll give him, $1,400 for that, because I'm now actually making $1,000 more than than actually losing. So,
Right.
yeah. So having somebody that knows the markets, having somebody that knows the systems, having the good photographs, having the game rooms, having the amenities inside the property for people is all about it. Now, this is an experience. You don't take pictures of the rooms for the picture of the room. You take picture of the glass of wine sitting next to the hot tub, so that you mentally image yourself sitting there in the hot tub with your glass of wine. If not, if you don't drink wine, but it is what it is, right? It's you're going after the experience, and the good property managers, good photographers that have done this before know what it is, right? Before you even go.
Yeah. And I think that's what's so important, what you said with regard to just investing, because it really is an investment in good qualified professionals. Not thinking of it as an expense, but thinking of it as what's the return on investment for the right pictures or for that right short-term property management,
Yeah.
property
I,
manager,
I will tell
or
you that the
short-term.
cheapest photographer is $800 for a set of photos.
Mhm,
I've seen people actually go further. They go $6,000 for photos.
mhm.
And why would they? Oh my God, why would you do that? Well, you want it different times of the year, different times of the day. You want different
Different
people,
angles. Mhm.
right? Who's your social media manager? Who's going to do all the Instagram reels and all the website tweaks and all of that? This is a business. It's not just put it out on the Airbnb and let it fly, because that's not how this goes, right? We see those people selling their properties because they're not performing. I can take a non-performing property, put the right amount of activity into it, and it'll turn that sucker around in a New York minute.
Right.
Yeah, you have to be hands-on. That's if you're not hands-on person and you just want to take the money, I would say get a co-host for sure.
Think
And
that's.
then you want to keep your co-host honest. You want to say,
Mhm.
okay, you know, it's the peak. We're not hitting our peak numbers. We've hit
Right.
this before. Now we're not hitting it. What's the problem? Right?
Right.
You want to analyze your P&L every single month.
Keep them
Some
honest.
people don't do that. Right? This is a business, not each property should have its own LLC, right? And take in and then you have to have some really good accounting.
Well, I
Because
would
you're gonna
imagine for this business, there's a lot of forecasting you can do. So,
Yeah.
right now, you can look, hey, how many, days do we have booked in August? How many days we have booked in September, October
Yep.
even? Do we need to do dynamic pricing? Like really sitting
Yep.
down, even if it's just once a month and kind of going through
Yeah,
an
and
agenda
Airbnb
of.
itself has its own dynamic pricing tool, right?
Mhm,
So they want to keep you in-house on Airbnb only.
mhm.
But I will tell you, our last 2 months, booking.com has been our biggest source of income.
Interesting.
How that worked, I have no idea. It's just how the tweaks were made in the system, and it goes from there.
Interesting. Very
Now,
interesting.
here's another piece of the puzzle. it's not just Airbnb, right? You
Mhm.
want to be on VRBO, you want to be on booking.com, you want to be on Google. I just
Vacasa?
watched a video on Google, yeah, so that you can get people to your direct booking site and get direct bookings.
Yeah, my clients are on Vacasa a lot.
So Vacasa is a property management company. So is Evolve,
Okay.
right? So those companies, they charge at minimum 20%,
Okay. Yeah,
right? So you
that's
go to
good to know.
certain towns and Vacasa's got the lion's share of the work, right? And so you want to play in the same field because now you're talking about a bigger marketing machine. That's why they charge them more money, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Question
all
here
right.
about
So
if you,
building a power team. Yeah. So I would say this is a great question. Start, asking the questions now. So your realtor that you're using should be able to help you. So I have a company called Envisions Interiors. His name's Gage Wilson. He is a Class A contractor. He can handle anything from handyman work, plumbing, electrician, CPA, or not CPA, but HVAC. Everything. He can build the house, tear the house down, build a new one. He can install the hot tubs, put landscaping in, whatever. Have that guy, right? And then you want to have a bookkeeper is fine. You can use that, right? The bookkeeper will keep you in track and so that you can do your taxes, or get a CPA. They're going to be a little bit more expensive, but we have a CPA that works with us and they do a monthly P&L. We submit all the expenses in off of one, credit card or whatever it is for the supplies each month, and then we take all the incomes and they run into a specific bank account. So he's got all the information there before we even touch it.
yeah, it's automated.
And by the way, don't take any money out of the property at all until you've actually got 3 to 6 months in reserves. This is the same that you would run your household business, right? You want to build up your home reserves, your savings account to 3 to 6 months before you start taking draws, because God forbid an HVAC blows out, or you need to replace the roof, or something, capital expenditure happens,
Hmm.
and it's a bad day because you don't have the money to do it, and then you're shut down, your business is closed.
Hmm.
So just be, in my opinion, I always say tell people 3 to 6 months at minimum. So if you know that your income is going to be 6 month or $6,000, then and you're only making $1,000 a month. How long does it take to get there?
Takes longer.
Takes a lot longer.
Much
So
longer.
yeah,
Yeah.
I would say your agent, or there are, if you Google in certain areas, for example, Massanutten, there's a ton of cleaners. There are also a lot of Facebook forums that all the owners that are there already are talking, right? So
Mhm.
get into the Bigger Pockets forum, get onto Facebook, get in those different groups that you're trying to invest in and start asking those questions. You'll see some of the best providers jump out.
Yeah. Well, Erin, we have enjoyed you. Alicia is also saying a whole lot in Facebook, so we appreciate her. She's saying Instagram Reels. Why did you think of that? So
Instagram Reels. Oh my God. So there's a lady. I don't know the name of her business off the top of my head, but all she does, this is a great business, by the way. I'm thinking about it myself. She loves travel. So as a single lady, she's got a dog. She
Mhm.
knows how to do the Instagram thing like crazy, right? So she'll call you on the phone, say, I see you have a property here. I'll come and visit for the weekend. I'll bring my dog. I'll do a reel and I'll set it up. I've got 1 million followers. Pay me $1,000 and let me stay at your place for free. So she's
Yeah,
traveling
influencer. Mhm.
all over the place for free, getting paid actually, and then providing the content to the people that are, how to register, how to go to this property, what it's all about, those things. So there's a million ways to do it. But if you look up, oh, by the way, themes are the thing, right? So couples themes, family themes, views are great, but like, what each area that you go to, what is the thing that is going to drive that person to it? It gets as gross as, kink. I mean, there are properties that are, yeah, they have yeah, go onto Instagram right now and look up red room cabins,
No,
and they're
thank
booked.
you. I
I
trust
know,
you.
not me either, but they're booked fully. It's crazy.
Oh,
I'm
no,
just
I
telling.
believe that. I believe it's just not something I'm
So
gonna,
just,
because
what
then
your
that changes
tolerance
the
level is,
Instagram
I don't know, but
algorithm.
they have those properties out there. And so, oh, something else so a lot of people talk to me about Nashville.
Uh-huh.
Nashville's a great spot. They used to have no rules. Now Nashville has very strict rules. So there are certain neighborhoods that you can't invest in, that don't allow it any longer. Luray, for example, Luray, Virginia, they're talking right now about taking and turning off the ability to apply for an Airbnb license for 2 years because they don't have enough housing for the people that live there. So just get with a real estate agent or somebody that knows all the rules before you start putting any money out of your pocket.
Yeah, not only the rules, but what's forthcoming with regards to their
Yeah,
economy.
for
Someone who's
sure.
really tapped into
Yep.
the local politics,
Yeah,
the
you want to
economic
build
development.
your exit strategy. You want to build your alternative plan just in case,
Mhm.
slide it back to a midterm or whatever, or sell it, right? I mean, that's what people do.
Yeah. Well, Erin, thank you so much for being here. How can people get in touch with you if they want to talk to you more?
Yeah, so obviously we're going to put our contact information on the bottom here, but my phone number, cell phone, 703-431-8310. And I can type in my email address on the chat if you want.
Yes,
Um,
please.
um,
And also type your phone number again
yep.
as well.
So if you guys, want to reach out and just have questions, I actually, from the last meeting, Cheree, I had somebody reach out to me that was looking to buy a property in the Northern Neck. It seemed like a great deal. And then I
Uh-huh.
started talking to her. I'm like, yeah, the projections are not there.
Mm,
And then when you start talking about what what your down payment is, what your mortgage payment, and then she was like, oh shoot, I'm losing $2,000 a month.
wow. Well, you know,
And
and
so
that's a
I
test,
wasn't even her realtor.
right. Well, that's a testimony to you because there are a lot of unscrupulous people out there who will take advantage of investors. And that's
That's right.
definitely not us. We want you to, I'll be honest with you, I'm looking for investors that want to buy a property a year. So it doesn't make any sense for me to screw you over in the first deal. Like I
No,
want you to come
that's
back
totally
over and
true. And
over.
what I'd love about Cheree, and this is just a personal testament, she's done my own personal loans for me at my residential purchases. But I will tell you, so she is one of the smartest lenders I've ever talked to. She knows the
Yeah.
rules. She's done small business administration loans. So to get somebody with a financial background like she does and knows how to get to where we're going, I would definitely give her a shot because she definitely will close the deal for you.
Yes,
And
yes.
that's
I work
that's the
very
most
hard for
important
my
part.
clients. So
Yes, you do. Thank you.
thank you. So, if you speaking of, I've got a call too right now.
All
So,
right.
but I want to thank everybody for being here. This will be recorded. It'll also be up on YouTube if you all need to hear the replay. And please reach out to Erin. He is a wealth of knowledge. Whether or not you're buying in his area,
Yeah,
even
I
though
have
we love
realtor
you.
partners all the way across the country for sure.
Yes, so definitely reach out to him. And of course, you all can reach out to me as well if you're looking for any kind of loans for primary homes, vacation homes, or investment properties. So thank you so much, everybody, and we'll see you next week. Take care.
See you later.
Bye-bye.